So the Clippers, they're such an interesting franchise, man. What we thought, would be a dynasty when Chris Paul came to the Clippers in a blockbuster trade that was surrounded by controversy. Blake Griffin was there. He was emerging as a superstar. DeAndre Jordan was starting to find his way in the NBA. We thought we had the next big thing. We thought this team could make it to multiple NBA finals and potentially win an NBA championship. And then they got Doc Rivers to add on top of that as well. So we all had these high expectations. But what happened was this team performed really well in the regular season, but apparently they just cannot win when it really counts in the postseason. And that's a shame, considering they have basically the best point guard, in my opinion, in Chris Paul. And they have a talented guy in Blake Griffin, and they have an extremely good coach in Doc Rivers. Now, so the question really arises, why? Why hasn't this team performed to their potential? I mean, on paper, if you look at this team, they look like a contending team. They look like a team that should be at least in the Western Conference Finals every year. Why aren't they? Well, I have the answers. Because first of all, it starts with the personnel on their team. Sure, they have the big three, but who is there after that? Let's look at their small forwards. They have guys like Bryce Johnson, and they have other guys. Let me actually pull up the roster right now, actually, just so we can analyze this further. Let's see, conference. So here we go. So they got guys like Wesley Johnson at the small forward position. They have Allen Anderson. All right. They also have Bryce Johnson, Luke Mbah-a-Moute. These are the supporting cast, along with other guys like Allen Anderson, the aging Jamal Crawford, Raymond Felton, Brandon Bass, Maurice Spates. Like they don't, like, their team besides the big three isn't all that great. The depth on this team is very, very shallow, and that's resulting in this team not being able to perform in the playoffs. Because let's be honest here, what's the main reason why Golden State is so successful? It's because of their depth. It's because of how, when they're able to play consistently from the starters to the 15th man on the roster, everybody's able to play on that team because they're that deep. Whereas if you look at this Clippers team, they're not. Now, why is that the case? Why do they not have a solid enough roster around this core group of Paul, Griffin, and DeAndre? Well, it's quite simple. It's Doc Rivers. Doc Rivers, as a coach, is probably one of the best coaches besides Greg Popovich. Doc Rivers has won an NBA championship. He knows how to lead a team to victory. He knows how to will his guys and lead them to victory. But the one thing that makes him a great coach, as I've heard on First Take a lot, also makes him a terrible GM. And that's his belief and his trust in his guys. He thinks that he can win with these guys. He thinks that he doesn't need to add more players to this team. He feels that these are the guys I have. These are the guys I believe in them. They can win. However, they're not winning, and that is creating the biggest problem here, where you have the opportunity to go out, sign free agents. LA is such a big market where you can probably attract free agents to come to the city. But the fact that the Clippers haven't done that and just wasted away golden opportunities to create probably one of the better franchise in the Lakers, who else can we blame but Doc Rivers? Because he hasn't gone out, sought after some free agents, some role players, some quality players to put around Paul, Griffin, and DeAndre. And that's the biggest problem with this team right now. Like, this team, if you look at the talent alone, they could be really good. If this team is healthy, I'm guaranteeing you, with the talent of Chris Paul, the talent of Blake Griffin, and DeAndre Jordan, could be a really good big three. But because of Doc Rivers and his inability to build a team around these guys, really hurt their chances. And now the second reason why they haven't been reaching success is injuries. Now, because of the fact that their team isn't really good, it means that the big three has to play a lot. They have to play a lot to sort of make up for the lack of play from their teammates. Therefore, they're expending a lot of energy. So injuries are a major concern with these guys, especially with guys like Paul and Griffin who are aging. These guys are aging. Griffin, I'm really concerned for him because he's had a few major injuries within the last few years. He hasn't been healthy these last few years, and that's really concerning considering one of his biggest attributes is his athleticism. And once you get injured a lot, it sort of reduces that athleticism, and it's not a good sign for Griffin right now. So the injuries are a big demoralizing thing for this team. They keep losing guys, especially in the playoffs when they need them the most. Like, it's a big shame. Injuries is another problem with this team. So now, this leads me to what should the Clippers do? Now they have 3 of their top main guys heading into free agency. They have Chris Paul, JJ Redick, and Blake Griffin, all free agents this summer. And the question everyone's asking with the Clippers is, what should they do? What should they do with these guys? Should they trade them? Should they let them walk? Should they hit the reset button and completely blow this team up? What should they do? And thankfully, I have the answer to the problems. And for me personally, I just think that the Clippers, their biggest thing is to blow this thing up. I really think that it's not fair to the LA market that you're promising them something that just cannot be achieved. And I'm saying this from a realistic perspective. Well, if you look at the Western Conference, look at all the teams above LA. You have the teams like Golden State, who are gonna be there for the next 4 or 5 years now, at least. We don't know how long this team's gonna remain together, but Golden State's gonna be around for a while. San Antonio's always there. Houston has also been emerging as a really good team under D'Antoni and James Harden, so that's also not going to be going away anytime soon. Utah's been proving that they're a good team, so they're also ahead of the Clippers. Other teams like the Trailblazers are also making some noise. So, and Memphis, we can't sleep on Memphis. So let's be honest, the Western Conference is stacked, and if the Clippers were in the Eastern Conference, I guarantee you they would be in the conference finals every year. But they're not. They're in the West, which means that their chances of winning is just so low. Like, how can you beat all these teams to get to an NBA final to win a championship? Like, how? You can't. And what you're doing is not only are you disappointing your fan base by promising something, saying that no, we're gonna try to win championship, we're gonna be great, we're gonna be a good team. Not only are you promising something that you just cannot deliver, but you're also holding back guys like Chris Paul from winning a championship for himself. Chris Paul isn't getting younger. He's like 31, 32 years old now. He wants to win. He wants to win a championship right now. And I don't think he can do that on the Clippers. I really don't. Even if you get a healthy Blake Griffin, even if JJ Redick is playing great, even if DeAndre is playing great, this team isn't capable of winning in such a conference. And it's quite sad. I really thought Chris Paul, with his talent, could have been able to make this work, but it just hasn't been able to work. So now, onto my solution. I say this team should blow it up. First thing I would do is I would sign and trade Chris Paul. I would not sign him to the Supermax extension, otherwise nobody would take him. But I would sign him to a max contract, and I would trade him away. I would trade him away for try to get some draft picks for him and some just cash release. Because one of the biggest problems with this Clippers team is that they have a lot of big contracts. They're very high into the luxury tax, and they don't need all that if they're rebuilding. And I would also go for Chris Paul. I'd get high draft picks, and I would get young talent, very good young talent, up and coming talent to pair with Doc Rivers, Doc Rivers can sort of mentor and train. Next, I would let JJ Redick walk. I would let him go. I would also sign and trade away Blake Griffin as well. Why? Because I don't want to lose Blake for nothing, but at the same time, I want him gone. I don't think Blake can do a lot for this team. I don't think Blake is the guy who LA wanted him to be. So Blake is gone as well. Next, I would really put... Now, DeAndre Jordan's an interesting one. He's very young as a center, but he's also very talented. But he's very one-dimensional as well. So it's a toss-up between DeAndre. He does have a big contract, but at the same time, you could keep him if you want to. But I don't know. If it was me, if I find a trading partner for DeAndre, I would probably get rid of him. But other than that, he's fine where he is. So by getting rid of all these guys, getting draft picks, getting some young players, this team will be in a better position to rebuild and be able to move forward as a franchise. I think that is the best thing to do, man. I really do. I think it would allow everybody to do what they want. It would allow Chris Paul to go contend for a championship, Blake Griffin to be in a better situation for himself, JJ to also be on a contender, and the Clippers to just hit the reset button and just restart it all over again, man. I mean, it's not the best solution, but it is the solution for the Clippers right now. There's no point keeping a core together that just isn't winning and just can't win in a very stacked conference. So, yeah, that's my opinion on this, man. But overall, I think the Clippers have a lot of problems, but in the end, we'll see what happens in this year's offseason. Hopefully, the Clippers can do the right thing and fix this roster. I mean, they can potentially save this for a rebuild, but it's all if they can, which at this point I don't see that really happening right now. So we'll see what happens when it happens.